Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We'll be looking at some of the topics that we always discuss today, every day. One of the things I want us to consider is the fact that the Muslims did claim every day that Jesus Christ, whom we know in the Bible, that he actually was a Muslim. They did say. The Muslims keep saying that Isa alayhi salam was a Muslim and Muhammad was a Muslim. Many prophets were Muslims, including Adam, wow, Abraham, Noah, Enoch, Elijah, Elisha, and all what have you. They were all Muslims. And some of us found that so striking, so surprising, because first of all, you need to first consider what does being a Muslim means and who actually is a Muslim by the definition of being a Muslim from the Quran and the Hadith, because these are the standard books that we can use as a source of information to verify what is said, truth or not truth. And that is, moreover, the Quran is said to have been from Allah, word for word. Therefore, anything in Quran must be sacrosanct and it must be consistent, and it is in fact the truth, supposedly from Allah in that case. And then that is what I want us to consider. If Adam was a Muslim, what kind of Islam did he practice? If those prophets who were before Muhammad were actually Muslims, including Jesus, what kind of Islam do they practice? Because in Islam, there are basic 5 principles, otherwise called pillars of Islam, that every Muslim must perform those 5 things that will make him or her a Muslim. One of which is that you have to believe in one God and Muhammad is the messenger. That is, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So the question is, Muhammad wasn't born when Christ was on earth. Could Jesus have performed his own creed or his own Shahada, kalimatu Shahada, by saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah? Or if the name of Muhammad was not included in Jesus' Shahada, then which name did Jesus formed or added as part of the Shahada to be made complete? Remember, the Hadith and the Quran make it compulsory that you have to say that in that order for you to be a complete Muslim. Shahada. La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah. So Muhammad wasn't there at the time of Jesus, and his name could not have been included. But the Muslims want us to believe that Jesus was a Muslim. That is just one. 2, there is an issue of going to Mecca, going to Medina, going to for Umrah, as they practice today in Saudi Arabia, which is believed to be the location where Mecca was located as at that time. The question is that, did Jesus perform the Hajj process? Did he go to Hajj and do what the Muslims are doing today that will make him or could have made him a complete Muslim? Jesus didn't do that. How did I know? It is there in John chapter 4, from verse 22 to 24. Jesus was talking to a woman, Samaritan woman, behind or around the well of Abraham and Jacob. Jesus told the woman specifically that time is coming and now is the time. As at the time Jesus Christ was speaking, Jesus did say, now is the time that those who will worship God, first, they must worship God as a father, because God's relationship is a son and father relationship, not a master and a servant like of that Muslims believe. But the Christian teaching, which is in Christ and from Christ himself, is that God is a father, and those who must worship him in spirit and in truth. So Jesus equally just make it more clearer to say that the time is coming that no one will neither go to Jerusalem or to Mountain Gerizim to worship God. In other words, no one will be needed to go to Mecca, Medina, or Hajj, or anything on any space in order to go and worship God. Specifically, Jesus did say, the time is now, here is time, and that God is everywhere because he is spirit and he is omnipotent, and he will be worshipped by those who truly are worshippers, and will do that in spirit and in truth. So the issue of going to some places to perform any Hajj or Umrah is not allowed by Jesus, according to Jesus himself telling the woman of Samaritan in John chapter 4. So we can establish from that teaching that Jesus actually did not perform Hajj. That is also crumbled. The third part is fasting. The Muslims have a 30 days Ramadan, and in fact it's only 29 days that are done. The 30th day is meant for Salah celebration. So the question is, did Jesus fasted the way the Muslims are fasting, by first of all in the morning having a sahur? Because the Muslims are expected to eat as early as 5 o'clock before their fasting commenced from onward to the evening. Once the sun is down, the Muslims are allowed to break their fast. And in fact, the Muslim will even do complain and even do complain by saying, oh, I was so hungry today, the fasting was so hitting on me. Come on, it's fasting because I'm fasting. They will be even wanting everybody to know about their fasting difficulty, fasting challenges. Rather, on the contrary, Jesus actually fasted, so that is confirmed. Jesus fasted, but Jesus fasted not 30 days, rather 40 days. That is one of the difference. The second part is that Jesus said, when you are fasting in Matthew chapter 6, do not fast like the hypocrite who does. They do it to frame their face, to make their face look so frown in the name of demonstrating that they are fasting. And that by doing that, they have simply received their reward automatically because they are making it known for public show. They are doing it for public show because they should not do that for anybody. They should do it for God. But since they are doing it publicly and doing it in that way, they have made it known and their reward has been received by them for that act alone. So Jesus rebuked the way of fasting by fasting and demonstrating in that order. And that has been condemned by Jesus. Therefore, the fasting of Jesus Christ was different from that Muslim fasting today. And then the last part of that, number 3 part of that, is the fact that Jesus never had a sahur in the morning when he's fasting. The Bible said he fasted day and night for good 40 days. So the fasting of Muslims are actually from 6 to 6. Well, Christ did fasted from all through the 24 hours. Fasting. There was no water taken, there was nothing, according to Matthew chapter 4. So it is clearly established that Jesus' fasting is far different and in fact opposite to what the Muslims fasting is all about. And then the third point that makes anyone to be a true and genuine Muslim is that you have to provide almsgiving, which Jesus did provide it. Actually do almsgiving, but they also say that should not be done like the hypocrite does, because they will do it to show that they help. But when you are kind or help others, don't show and let your neighbor or let anybody know. In fact, it said, don't let your your left hand to know what your right hand is doing. That's what Jesus teaches. But the Muslims who want to announce it, and they are doing it. How many pillars have I mentioned? I've mentioned the fasting, I've mentioned the Hajj, I've mentioned the almsgiving, I've mentioned the Kalimat Shahada, and the last one, I'm just trying to remember if Jesus did that. So in that prayer, the last one is the prayers, the 5 daily prayers. Did Jesus pray 5 times a day like the Muslims are doing today? If he does, how many rak'at did he do? And where can we see the prescribed pattern of Jesus' fasting in the Quran or Hadith? Let them show us. So we are here to simply present to you the fact that the Muslim claim that Jesus was a Muslim in order to get credence to their religion is actually a fabricated story, is a lie and deception from Allah himself and the Muslim, because Allah is a deceiver. According to chapter 4, verse 142 of the Quran, it did say that. And therefore, their effort of the Muslims is to emulate after their Allah by deceiving others, believing that Jesus was a Muslim in order for their religion to be accepted by non-Muslims, and for their own within Muslims also to remain calm and believe that since Jesus was a Muslim, they are on the right path, which is actually not true, because the Muslims are still praying every day for Allah to show them and to guide them to the right path, because up to now they are not on the right path and they are not sure of where they are going. And that is it for now. So drop in the comment section to know what is your opinion, what is your take about this, and if Jesus was a Muslim or otherwise, please give us your own opinion. Thank you for that. Till we meet again in the next video.